Every weekend, across tens of thousands of driveways in North America, the same thing happens. People walk past objects that could change their lives for $2 and keep walking. They're looking for furniture and picture frames and coffee makers. They're not looking for what I'm looking for. After today, neither will you. What makes garage sales different from thrift stores is that the people running them almost never know what they have. They're clearing out a parent's basement, a grandmother's pantry, a farmhouse they just inherited. The objects they're selling in some cases represent generations of practical knowledge about how to feed people, purify water, and stay warm without depending on any system at all. And because that knowledge has been largely forgotten, those objects are sitting on folding tables for $3. Here are 10 of them. Some of these will surprise you. A few will genuinely stop you cold. Number 1, the all-American pressure canner. I didn't say a pressure cooker, but a pressure canner. The difference matters enormously. A pressure canner processes food at 240 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the only temperature that destroys botulism spores. Boiling water at 212 degrees cannot do it. This means that without a pressure canner, you cannot safely preserve green beans, corn, carrots, meat, or soup in jars. You're limited to high-acid foods. With one, you can seal an entire harvest into shelf-stable jars that last 2 to 5 years with no refrigeration at all. The brand to look for is All American. Made in Wisconsin, all-metal seal, no rubber gasket that rots or needs replacing. The lid machines directly to the body. These were built to outlast the person who bought them, and many of them have. At garage sales, they sell for $5 to $30 because people inherit them from their mothers and grandmothers and have no idea what they are. New, they cost $300. The moment you start preserving your own food, this item pays for itself in the first month. Check that the gauge moves freely and the body has no cracks. Everything else is workable. Number 2, the Stoneware fermentation. Crock. Fermentation is older than cooking, older than agriculture. It requires no heat, no electricity, and no special skill, and it transforms raw vegetables into preserved food that is more nutritious than when it started. A Stoneware crock ferments cabbage into sauerkraut, cucumbers into true lacto-fermented pickles, and dozens of other vegetables into foods that keep for months at room temperature without any processing. The lactic acid bacteria that do the work are already present on the vegetables. You add salt and time. That's the whole method. Modern fermentation supplies are mostly plastic. Plastic scratches, harbors bacteria, and leaches chemicals into acidic ferments. Vintage Stoneware is food safe, non-reactive, and essentially indestructible. The German and American Crocks, harsh, Red Wing, or unmarked salt glazed pieces are what you want. The interior should be smooth and uncracked. These sell for $2 at garage sales because nobody under 50 recognizes them. At a homesteading supply store, a quality crock runs $80 to $150. It's one of the great pricing disconnects at any garage sale. Number 3, the hand grain mill. Here's a question almost nobody thinks to ask. If you had 100 pounds of wheat berries stored right now, could you actually eat them? Whole grain stored properly lasts 25 to 30 years. Flour lasts 6 months. The grain mill is the bridge. It turns long-term storage grain into flour on demand, with no electricity, no subscription, no supply chain. Look for cast iron hand mills in megawatts, the Corona, the Victoria, or older all-grain models. The grinding plates should be intact, with no deep gouging. The handle should turn without grinding metal on metal. These were standard kitchen equipment in rural homes through the mid-20th century. They show up at estate and garage sales for $5 to $15. A new quality grain mill runs $150 to $300. But beyond the price, there's something else worth understanding. Modern pre-ground flour is processed at high heat that destroys enzymes and oxidizes the oils in the germ. Fresh ground flour from a hand mill retains everything. The taste is different, the nutrition is different, and the security of knowing you can turn stored grain into bread without plugging anything in is something that's hard to put a dollar value on. Number 4, the ceramic candle water. Filter. This is the first item on this list that most people have genuinely never heard of, and it might be the most important one here. A ceramic candle filter is a hollow cylinder of fired diatomaceous earth or ceramic material, typically about 10 inches long. Water is poured through it and pathogens, sediment, and bacteria are mechanically removed through the microscopic pore structure of the ceramic. No chemicals, no electricity, no moving parts. These were invented in the 1800s by Henry Dalton and were the primary method of household water purification across Europe and North America for over a century. The Bergfeld filter, developed in 1891, is the direct ancestor of the modern Berkey system that people pay $400 for today. At garage sales, these show up as part of old ceramic dispensers, or standalone as what looks like a large candle made of gray-white stone. People sell them for $2 to $5 as curiosities. They have no idea they're looking at a water purification system with a 130-year track record. The ceramic candles themselves are still manufactured and sold as replacement parts. If the candle you find is intact and uncracked, it can be cleaned with a soft brush and used immediately. Test it by holding it up to light. It should be completely opaque, meaning the pore structure is intact. This is a working Berkey filter for $3. Number 5. The vintage thermos and thermal cooking. Most people think a thermos keeps coffee hot. That's the least interesting thing it does. Thermal cooking is a method used throughout the developing world and in Scandinavian countries for generations. You bring a pot of food to a full boil for 10 minutes, seal it in a well-insulated container, and the retained heat finishes the cooking over the next 4 to 8 hours without any additional energy. Dried beans that would normally require 2 hours of simmering cook completely inside a thermos while you go about your day. The reason this matters at a garage sale is the construction of old thermoses. Vintage Stanley, Aladdin, and King Sealy thermoses from the 1950s through the 1970s used a genuine glass vacuum flask inside the metal shell. Glass-to-glass vacuum is the most efficient insulation ever engineered for this purpose. These units maintain temperature for 18 to 24 hours. Modern thermoses use plastic liners. Plastic doesn't hold vacuum as well, it degrades over time and it leaches into whatever you're keeping warm. The glass vacuum units are superior in every technical sense. You'll find them for $1 to $3, usually with a slightly dented exterior. As long as the interior glass flask isn't cracked, it works perfectly. Tap the side gently. You should hear a hollow resonance, not a rattle. A rattle means the internal flask is broken. Silence means you have a fuel-free slow cooker that was engineered before planned obsolescence existed. Number 6. The fruit press. Most people with apple trees let the apples fall and rot. That happens every autumn on a scale that would have been considered criminal waste 100 years ago. A fruit press changes that equation completely. A manual fruit press, also called a cider press, uses a wooden or metal screw mechanism to crush fruit and extract juice. No electricity, no motor. The juice can be drunk fresh, fermented into hard cider, reduced into syrup, or preserved by canning. Paired with the fermentation crock we already discussed, a fruit press gives you a complete off-grid beverage production system from fruit that currently rots on the ground. Vintage wooden screw presses show up at garage sales and farm auctions for $10 to $30. New ones cost $200 and up, and the modern versions frequently use plastic components that fail under real pressure. The wooden screw mechanism is one of the oldest and most durable mechanical systems humans ever invented. The threads are self-tightening under load, the wood absorbs vibration, and there's nothing to strip, corrode, or burn out. A well-maintained press runs indefinitely, and one afternoon with a press and a few bushels of apples produces more preserved calories than most people realize. Foraged crab apples, wild plums, windfall pears, anything goes in. Number 7. The kerosene. Wick cooking stove. This is not the same as a kerosene lamp. A kerosene lamp gives you light. A kerosene wick stove gives you a fully functional cooking surface that runs on kerosene, lamp oil, diesel, and in a true emergency, rendered animal fat or vegetable oil. The brand name to know is Perfection. The Perfection Oil Heater and Cook Stove Company produced single and double burner wick stoves from the early 1900s through the 1950s that are still fully functional today. The design is extraordinarily simple. A wick draws fuel from a reservoir, the wick is lit, and the flame is adjusted by raising or lowering the wick. No pressurization required, no pump, no canister, no circuit. These stoves will simmer, boil, fry, and bake with the right cookware. They produce enough heat to warm a small room as a side effect of cooking. And a gallon of kerosene, which costs a few dollars and stores for years with a stabilizer added, provides approximately 10 hours of cooking time. At garage sales, these sell for $5 to $15, sometimes less because people think they're looking at something decorative. Check the wick. It should be white or cream-colored cotton, soft and intact. Check that the wick raising mechanism turns smoothly. A replacement wick costs under $3. Everything else on these stoves essentially never wears out. A propane camp stove is convenient right up until the canister is empty and you can't find a replacement. A kerosene stove runs on a fuel you can store by the drum, sourced from multiple suppliers, and burn cleanly for the rest of your life. Number 8. The Mechanical Barometer. Your phone gives you a weather forecast. A barometer tells you what's happening to the atmosphere at this exact moment, which is a fundamentally different and more useful piece of information when you're making real decisions about your garden, your harvest, or your plans for the day. A barometer measures atmospheric pressure. Falling pressure means an incoming storm, often hours before any visible sign in the sky or any update to an app. Rising pressure means clearing weather and the return of stable conditions. The rate of change matters as much as the direction. A rapid pressure drop indicates a severe system moving in fast. A slow, steady drop means something less dramatic. Vintage aneroid barometers, the kind with a dial face, not a glass tube, were standard household equipment through most of the 20th century. They require no batteries, no calibration beyond a one-time altitude adjustment, and they remain accurate for decades with no maintenance. You'll find them at garage sales for $3 to $15, often still in working condition, sometimes with the original mahogany case. For anyone growing food seriously, a barometer is a harvest protection tool. It tells you when to cover the young plants, when to bring in cut herbs before the rain, when the frost window is opening. Your phone's weather app is built from data collected hours ago and averaged across a wide geographic area. Your barometer is reading your specific air right now. That difference matters more than most people realize until the moment they need it. Number 9, the all-metal food dehydrator. I want to be direct about what separates a vintage all-metal food dehydrator from anything sold in a store today. Modern food dehydrators have plastic trays, plastic bodies, and heating elements that max out around 145 to 160 degrees. The plastic off-gases at higher temperatures. The trays warp, stain, and absorb odors permanently. The heating elements fail within a few years of regular use. Vintage Excalibur and American Harvest dehydrators from the 1980s and early 1990s use metal tray frames, metal housing, and horizontal airflow that distributes heat evenly across every tray. The heating elements in these units are built to industrial standards and run at consistent temperatures. I have used one that is 40 years old that performs better than any current production model I've tested. Dehydration removes up to 90% of a food's water weight while retaining the vast majority of its nutritional content and concentrating its flavor. A bushel of tomatoes becomes a quart jar of dried tomatoes that stores for years without refrigeration. Apples become dried rings that keep for 2 years. Meat becomes jerky that travels without any cooling required. At garage sales, these sell for $5 to $15 because they look old. The cord may be slightly worn. A replacement costs $2 at any hardware store. Plug it in before you pay. If it heats and the fan runs, you have a food preservation system that will outlast the house it's sitting in. Number 10, the hand crank laundry wringer. This is the one nobody sees coming, and I understand why. At first glance, it looks like a piece of household nostalgia with no practical application. That's exactly what most people think. They're wrong. The laundry wringer is a device with 2 rubber rollers and a hand crank that feed wet laundry through, squeezing out approximately 90% of the water. These were standard in North American households until electric dryers became widespread in the late 1960s and early 1970s. They weren't replaced because they stopped working. They were replaced because electricity was cheap and nobody thought about what would happen when it wasn't. In a power outage lasting more than 2 days, laundry becomes a serious problem. Clothes washed by hand and hung to dry while still heavy with water take 12 to 24 hours to dry in any weather that isn't hot and windy. In winter or rain, they may not dry at all. Wet clothing against skin in cold conditions is a direct path to hypothermia. A wringer attached to a bucket and a scrub board gives you a complete off-grid laundry system. Clothes come out of the wringer retaining roughly 10% of their water weight. They dry in 2 to 3 hours on a line in most conditions. Vintage wringers, Maytag made some of the most durable, as did Speed Queen and Easy, show up at garage sales for $5 to $10. The rubber rollers should be intact and not cracked. The crank mechanism should turn smoothly without metal grinding. That's the entire inspection. In a scenario where the grid is down for a week, this becomes one of the most practically useful things in your possession. And in a scenario where the grid is fine, it costs you nothing to have it in a closet, waiting. Here is the single thread connecting every item on this list. None of them require a power company. None of them require a parts department. None of them need a firmware update or a subscription or a compatible accessory that only one manufacturer makes. Every one of them was built on the assumption that the person using it would use it for decades, and that the person who built it would be judged by how long it lasted. That assumption is almost entirely gone from modern manufacturing, which is why these objects, still functional, still superior in most of their use cases, are sitting on folding tables for $3, while the things that replaced them were out in the closet. Start with one: the pressure canner if you grow food, the grain mill if you store grain, the ceramic filter if your water source is uncertain. One item, one weekend, one garage sale. You're not building a bunker, you're building a margin. And the difference between having that margin and not having it is almost always smaller than the price of a dinner out. That's it for today. I hope you learned something you didn't expect to, and I'll see you in the next one.